again, one of those games where I don't sound like a broken record, but very much like last week, uh, we put ourselves in a position to have a chance to beat a very good team in our league, and we're not quite there yet. We don't do the things we need to do, and we just got to get better in every phase of our game, not knowing which little part is going to be the most significant uh, until we can put it all together. Uh, because we lost again another game within a touchdown, just like we did the week before, to Coastal Carolina, and now to South Alabama, and um, and it's one of those that you got to grow from, you got to get better from, and you got to watch and see what you can correct and get better uh, in the upcoming games. But it was a game where I think you could say, where as I looked at it, we were leading at halftime, came out pretty ready to play, leading at halftime. Just a totally, I won't say the word collapse, but nothing going right for us for the first 10 minutes of the third quarter. We're down 41 to 20, but come back and score twice to get within seven, with big plays by our offense and some stops by our defense, and that allowed us to at least punt the ball down to their 12. You got them on the 12-yard line with 5 minutes left, so we can just get them off the field and get one more shot. It didn't happen, but I can go back to several times earlier in the game where it wasn't the last drive that killed us. That was just the last thing. So again, we're going to keep working hard, getting better, and treating every game like the most important game on our schedule. They all become that, and Army becomes that now, and so we'll get ready for that. Again, looking back at last week, the big story was Ty Howell, just an incredible game. 9 catches, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns. But if you look at the couple of scores that he got, they were They were short passes that he broke tackles and outran people and made huge plays that left you just saying, wow. And but that's the kind of performance that you need out of him. He has a gifted talent that I don't know if you don't demand that out of him every week, but you know that's the kind of play he can bring to the table. So as we and our offense got to another level because of that, and so that was important too. Defensively, we just couldn't. Again, we struggled against their offense. I thought especially again their passing attack and their quarterback, which was kind of the problem against Arkansas State. We get a good throwing and catching game. We've struggled, but they hurt us on the outside zone as well. And so we just got to regroup and make improvements and do that. So again, another a tough loss. Played hard, played the entire game, and came up short. And we'll just keep doing that and keep playing like that. We'll get this thing. That we'll get a win with this football team. Hopefully, it'll be this week. We got a great team, and they obviously will be a tough one to turn it around to get that win back to the win column. All right, questions?
All right, the challenges of playing at Army, obviously, the disciplined team.
Yeah, the disciplined team, the wishbone, and it's not really a wishbone as many people that are my age would look back at a wishbone, but it's the option. It's a triple option, but there are some power to it. There's some different running schemes to it, and you got to stop the run. They run for over 400 yards against two of the opponents that they played. And if you hold them down, they're still going to get over 200 probably. I think they were under 200 one time. The thing that scares you is the one time they were held down, they got 306 yards passing, which is the first time that's happened in 20 years, that they've passed for over 300 yards, because when they're passing, they're usually not winning. In that game, they threw and ran enough to win the football game. I think that was the one they lost in overtime, I think it was the one they lost in overtime that they had that all that yardage from UTSA in that game. So The biggest thing is their running style and their commitment to running. They've had 18 fourth yard. They've gone for it on 14 times on fourth down. They're going to limit your possessions on offense. So as much as you say, well, we got to score a lot of points, you got to be a little bit methodical about it too, because part of scoring is also keeping them off the field with many at bats, and you don't want to take a lot of three. You don't want to get a lot of 3 and outs, or you'll be in trouble. So it's a combination of knowing that defense, they're going to get some yards. They're going to stay on that field. They're going to make 3rd and 4th downs, running plays a lot of times, and then offensively, you've got to take advantage of the possessions that you've got. So it's one of those games where the football game is condensed. You won't see as many punts in a game like this. You won't see as many possessions in a game like this. And you better find a way to stop their running game on first down. The other thing that's just a sidebar is the fact that it's a noon game for us to travel. We'll fly out early on Friday as opposed to midday. By the time we get up there and go an hour and a half from the airport to West Point, it's about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30 minutes to our hotel. It's going to be time to go to bed almost, and get up at 6 o'clock to prepare for a noon game, because you got to drive about an hour from the hotel to the stadium, and so we'll work on that all week, try to get as much stuff done here before we get there. But that's if it takes more preparation for a team like Army, they're not just disciplined, but they're smart, because you play a game like that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or a 7 o'clock night game, you got a little more time to spend some time preparing and spending time here and there on Friday. But we're really forced to plan ahead for this team.
You mentioned a game where they threw for over 300 yards. Coach, is their scheme any different? Because that's so unusual for them to put the ball in the air that
what
much.
happens is they throw the deep ball. When you run the football and you have to stop the running game with defensive backs, you got to make sure you don't give up the big play, because that's the only really other thing they do. They don't want to throw short, because they can run short to catch up with people, or somebody's scoring and they're stopping their run a little bit. They're going to mix that passing game in. So you got to stop the run and not give up the big play. I don't think there's a lot different. I think they have tried to add that pass attack a little bit into their offense. But usually when you see them throwing that much, it's because they're not running the ball well enough, or they know the other team is scoring so much they've got to mix it in. So I really think, based on what we better be ready for it, because I got to say, if they watched us play, they'll say, guys, they'll say we got to mix some pass in with the run. But like I say, you want them passing some, because that means they're not running like they want to. Because I used to say it about Georgia Tech with Coach Johnson. He was such a great triple option. If they're passing, then they're probably losing. But this team will, and they will throw it in there just when they're going to get a big play out of it, and if you let them have those big plays, that'll get you.
What are the advantages of taking a break from conference play?
What's that?
What are the advantages of taking a break?
There's not a lot of advantages taking advantage when you're playing Army. Normally, the only two things can happen: you play in a Power 5, or you're playing a 1AA. And or I guess you could play in a group of 5 that's not in your league. Some of us try to get those games like we have with Army. But the problem with Army is it takes so much preparation. It's a game that we've got a one-off week, and that's after their game, and so you always need one during the season. But there's the advantage of playing a non-conference game are not there. They're just, there's a lot of, this is as big as a conference game, in the sense that you're not just looking for conference wins, you're looking for wins. We're trying to get that road, we're trying to win a game on the road. We're trying to get off the slide where you just are losing close ball games, and playing hard, and you need to get back on, winning solves a lot of problems. And so there's not a lot of, you can't really you don't even think of this game as being different than a conference game in your head right now, because of what we're trying to do is get a win, play hard again, and play smart, and come out with one more point than they have.
You've been there once before,
Mm-hmm.
head coach.
I have never coached there. I've been there by broadcast, and I've never broadcasted at West Point. I broadcasted Army Navy 4 or 5 times. I think it was in Philadelphia, at Veterans Stadium. But it was always my favorite game to broadcast because of the pageantry of the cadets and the midshipmen that march in before the game, and everything is stand the whole time, and the singing of their fight song that everybody knows the words to didn't go to school there, and the whole pageantry and the tradition of that game was special. I wish, because the game is so early, if it was a later game, we would hopefully have a tour of the facility any way they would allow us to have. I try to do that when we go somewhere, and here I am wishing that was something I could do. I hope my players would want to do it, but I sure would. But with this early game, there's no way we can do anything different there. But it will be. I played against Army in the Independence Bowl when I was at Auburn in 1995. And the thing is there, I wish we had that problem. We got ahead of them a lot. We were a little bit better football team. But then we went to sleep, and they scored about, I don't know how many they scored. I know they were kicking a field goal to either tie it or win it, and missed it at the end. And I'm about to, it's one of those deals where you're thinking about what in the world am I going to say in this press conference, So I have a lot of respect for the way they play and the discipline that they have, and the fact that they you're not going to count on these guys giving up or things like that. It's not in their DNA.
Because you talked about the importance of not losing a possession or missing out on an opportunity on a possession. How important is it going to be to have a balanced attack and run the football Saturday, not just throw it?
I mean that's kind of important, because I mentioned it earlier that I think not just scoring in one play and getting them back on offense, but also being able to take some time off the clock and not giving them time to get into a groove offensively. Now we're going to 7 points is 7 points. Like I said, if we score in one play, if the defense will just get the ball, we'll get them off the field 3 plays, we'll be fine. We'll take a little more time the next time. So I don't mind a score however it comes. But I do believe if this isn't the kind of game, we're going to hit a bunch of deep balls and just get this game way out ahead so they can't catch up. All you'll do is get too many 3 and outs, and they'll be the ones doing it. So I'm just saying is, go ahead and run your off. You got to go out there and take what they give you, and be methodical to a degree, and that you mix your offense up. So I don't know that. I just think with us, you got to. It just seems to be a wiser. I always want to run and pass. And if there's an opportunity to go to take a chunk shot, or somebody's not doing their job, but they're pretty smart guys. I don't see them, giving up a lot of deep balls.
Coach, it's hard to believe you're already 7 games into only 5 to go. How hard is it for this team to kind of grind through this part of the season?
Well, it's always difficult. I don't care what happens when you're not winning a lot, or if it's if you're 3 and 5, or 2 and 5, or 3 or 4. It's you got to build morale. You got to keep your morale going, and got to convince your players again to keep the faith, keep working hard, keep believing that good things are going to happen. And you got to do that, because as long as you do that, it'll happen. It'll turn for you. And especially when you're playing so many good teams and you're playing well, and it's not like the getting blown out of games and things like that. Now this team, if they get hot and you don't stop their running attack, you'll slowly see it pull away from you. But I think the biggest thing is that's always a big factor. Anytime you're trying to build a football program, there's that point where you better be a morale coach as much as anything, and convince our players that, man, we're on the right track. We're on the right track. Keep doing it, and we'll keep putting ourselves in a position to win the game, and we'll get that ball to bounce our way, and we'll make less mistakes, or be a little bit more explosive, or make a few more stops, and we'll get that close win. And it's happened. I mean, Lafayette was a similar type of game that we had to play, and we've had a few after that have not gone our way.